Changes coming to teacher training this September. From September 2024, national changes will come into effect for all trainee teachers, mentors and providers in England. This video, produced by the West Midlands ITE partnership with support from the DFE, will focus on the changes to mentoring and how schools can access the new funding that is available. We will also explore the joined-up approach that is being implemented for mentor training in the West Midlands. Firstly, we will briefly cover the changes to ITT that schools need to be aware of. From September, the most significant changes that schools need to be aware of are the changes to mentor training and mentor time allocation. Moving forward, mentors and the trainees that they support will be entitled to an hour and a half of protected time each week. In addition, mentors will be required to complete 20 hours of initial mentor training. Next, we will briefly cover the new requirements for mentors and mentor training from September 2024. There are many changes to the mentor requirements from September 2024. This video will focus primarily on the changes to mentor training, which you can see highlighted in yellow on the screen. These changes mean that all school-based mentors will need to have access to 20 hours of initial mentor training, which is supported by funding. In future years, this will be followed up by 6 hours of refresher training. All mentor training will need to cover mentor skills, including coaching approaches. It will need to cover the CCF and its associated evidence base, and the curriculum that initial teacher trainees will follow. This will be unique to each teacher training provider. Now, we will cover the new funding schools can access for mentors and mentor training. There are £876 of funding available for every mentor that completes the training and mentors a minimum of 1 trainee teacher. This payment is for each mentor direct to schools, and the funding is currently guaranteed for the 24-25 academic year only. On screen, you can see some details of how this funding can be used. In short, the payments are intended to make this additional training requirement feasible. It can be used to pay for cover lessons while a teacher is training, covering the costs of time off in lieu caused by training, overtime payments where appropriate, and covering other costs necessary to reduce responsibilities to enable colleagues to engage with mentor training. This funding is claimed in arrears at the end of the 24-25 academic year, and schools can expect payment in the September to January window 25-26. In the coming months, further information will be released by the Department for Education on how to claim mentor funding. Now, we will cover the joined-up approach to mentor training in the West Midlands. ITT providers in the West Midlands have collaborated in their approach to the design and delivery of the mentor training requirement. The intent is to avoid teachers repeating or duplicating training, to enable some common elements of mentor training to be recognised across the region, regardless of which school a mentor is working in. By taking this approach, we will safeguard mentors and training providers against unnecessary workload, minimise costs to schools, and ensure quality and consistency of mentoring across the West Midlands. Additionally, colleagues will develop core mentor skills that have applications beyond ITT. Mentors will be entitled to 20 hours of initial training from September. It will include content around coaching and mentoring, which is an increasingly high-profile, high-status role with the changes that have been made to initial teacher education and the early career framework. Providers need to ensure that mentors and coaches have a high level of competency, and they do that by delivering extensive training programs in line with the new DFE quality requirements from September 2024. It's now a requirement that all ITT mentors receive this training. In the West Midlands, we have divided this training into 3 tiers. Tier 1 is the training that will be common across the West Midlands ITE partnership. Tiers 2 and 3 will be specific to each provider. Tier 1 lasts for 7 hours, comprising the core mentor skills: developing effective relationships with the people you mentor, government guidance, including the ITT and early career frameworks. It will include instructional coaching, deliberate practice, modelling, scripting and rehearsal, and it will include training on effective lesson feedback and strategic target setting. Part or all of this Tier 1 training can be pre-accredited based on prior learning. For example, if a mentor has already completed ECF mentor training or the MPQ in leading teacher development. For the remaining 2 tiers, there is likely to be some combination of in-school support, refresher training and asynchronous learning. This will be unique to and determined by individual teacher training providers. Upon completion of Tier 1 of mentor training, colleagues in the West Midlands will receive a digital certificate, like the one you can see on screen. This will enable them to move schools and not have to repeat Tier 1 training anywhere in the West Midlands ITE partnership. Here are the key points to remember from this video. Mentors will need to complete 20 hours of initial training to be eligible to support trainee teachers in their school. Trainee teachers will be entitled to 1.5 hours with their mentor each week during school-based placements. Schools can access £876 of new funding to support mentor training costs in the first year. In the West Midlands, providers are collaborating on 7 hours of training to be recognised across the region. Mentors' previous experience and prior learning can be considered to reduce the number of hours of initial training that are required. We hope you have found this video useful. For more information on mentoring and mentor funding in the West Midlands, contact your initial teacher training provider or one of the organisations on screen. Alternatively, you can follow the links in the description below.